The head coach of the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, Will Hall, on Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Dave Schultz back with another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We talk a lot with Will Hall about how camp is going. What about the veterans who are maybe getting a little bit more playing time and figuring things out? What about the younger guys who have turned some heads? Of course, we talk about the quarterback competition. Tune in to find out if he tells me who it's going to be. We talk about what ends up being, really good news. Averie Habas ends up going to missing the season, but things like his situation, most of the time, they end up tragic. And it's a good job by everybody involved to catch it before something along those lines happen. And then, of course, we wrap up with expectations for the season. And as you may expect, they are very high in the mind of Will Hall. Let's get to it. Here's the head coach of the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. He is Will Hall. Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We continue to preview the 2023 season. We're always thrilled and honored with our next guest. He appears a lot, along with John Summerall and Tim Beck. They seem to like to come on the show, so I must be doing okay with these head coaches. He is Will Hall. He is heading into his third season with the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Coach, you guys had a huge turnaround from year one to year two because you went to the decaf, as I suggested. You had 3 wins in year one, 7 wins, including a bowl victory in Mobile. Tell us how camp is going for 2023.
We've had a good camp, Dave. It's been, man, me and you talk a lot and have a long history together. This has been a tough build here, but it's been rewarding now that we get into year 3 because we do have a full roster. We're reaping the rewards of that build now, and we've got some depth at all spots, and I think we're going to be able to play, real college football for the most part in all 3 phases. And our kids are doing awesome in the classroom and in the communities and all that. And so we feel like we truly have the whole foundation laid now where we can build a pretty good house on top of it.
Well, a big part of that foundation was decided last year after the bowl game. I'm not sure if it was official or unofficial, but Frank Gore Jr. at the Lending Tree Bowl at the time says he was coming back for another season. I mean, how well did you sleep over the holidays after you knew that news?
Yeah, it was great. We love Frank, and Frank's a kid that sees through things. He's a very cerebral kid. He's a thinker. He's got great parents, obviously, and he understands that there's a lot of things going for him here at Southern Miss. Number one, he's on schedule to get his degree in December. He didn't want to start over if he left and do that. Number two, we got a lot of positives about Southern Miss and a lot of things going that gave him incentive to stay. But then number 3, he sees through and wants to have a legacy, and he's got a chance to leave an unbelievable legacy here. And also the data shows that if you transfers that transfer up a level with only 1 year remaining, the success rate is low. If success is determined by getting drafted in the 4th round or higher, which is guaranteed contract, it was low. And Frank plays running back, so to learn a new system and go somewhere where he's got to prove it all over again, when you factor that in along with getting his degree and having the chance to leave a legacy here that'll carry on forever and ever, I think he would tell you it was a no-brainer to stay.
Well, you mentioned something special about Southern Miss, and we've seen that over the last year. The basketball team had one of the great turnarounds of any basketball team ever, and the attendance was growing. The baseball team hosts the Super Regional, and I know they came up short, but that was a great run for the Golden Eagles. How can you guys keep that momentum? And again, I've mentioned this to you before. It just seems like, and you're playing Mississippi State this year, it just seems like Southern Miss Hattiesburg has its own fan base that doesn't necessarily cross over with the Power 5 schools in the state.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. I've heard you say that before, Dave, and I appreciate it because it is unique. I've coached at a lot of Group of 5 places, and Southern Miss is unique from the standpoint of we have our own fan base, and it's a real fan base. We were top 10 in the country in baseball attendance. You talked about basketball last year. from a group of 5 standpoint in football, we've been up there even when we were going through a tough stretch right now. And I think it can only be, number one, it can be attributed to a long history and tradition of playing Division I football and winning. And we were the giant killers for so many years through the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and even on into the 90s with Coach Bauer. And then Coach Fedora had the unbelievable year in the 2000s. So we have been that group of 5 team that did all those things, much like Boise State's done in the recent past, Cincinnati's done in the recent past. We think we can get there again. I've said that from the moment I got here. I want to get us back there. I do think we're on the trajectory of getting it back there. We're not there yet, but I think the way we're building it and moving, I think we've got a great chance to get back there.
It is Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Perhaps the biggest upset of this whole podcast is the first question was not who is your starting quarterback, so let me rectify that. I'll ask it in a different way. How is the quarterback competition going in camp?
Man, Dave, it's going great. Those 2 kids, I'll say their name in alphabetical order, Holman Edwards and Billy Wiles. They've played at just a high level. So it's neither one of them is going to win the job by default. It is intense. When you say competition brings the cream of the crop to the top, it just that's what it's done here. They have raised their game. It's kind of, we're trending down towards the end of fall camp right now. I think one of them is kind of in a slight lead. I'm not going to say that right now. I'm going to get through the weekend, and we got one more big scrimmage. But, I think we're going to play at a pretty good level at quarterback this year because of those 2 and the way they've handled this competition, the way they treat their teammates.
So instead of asking you about them specifically, one of the things that it wasn't your year with the Raging Cajuns, but it was actually in 2013, my first season, the Cajuns, I think, opened up with like Arkansas and Kansas State. And it wasn't until the next year when Mark Hudspeth said they were too tired. I thought I had to get ramped up to play, Big 12 football or SEC football, and I overdid it. How do you measure, being ready and being rested? Do you kind of dial it down? We're going to be like, it's a 2-week game week? Because I presume following this big scrimmage, outside of maybe a handful and hoping it's just a handful of guys that you're still not sure of, you basically have the depth chart for your game, whether we know it or not. You probably do come Monday morning.
Yeah. So for us, this will be my 9th year to be a head coach. Right. And so I've kind of been through that. I think when you first start out as a head coach, you want to make sure you're ready, even if that's to the detriment. I think subconsciously, anybody that takes over anything, you want to make sure that you are ready and all your T's are crossed and I's are dotted. I think as you get older in anything, you learn that it's important. The season's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You've got to be able to last. And we've got Alcorn game 1, and we got them here at home. So, we'll go into next week, our first week of school here, our first week out of fall camp. We're going to give them 48 hours off. We'll give them Sunday and Monday off. We'll come back and we'll treat Tuesday like a helmets day, kind of like we would coming off going into an off week. Okay. And then we'll get after it Wednesday and Thursday, and we'll dial it back through the weekend, and then we'll come back for a game week.
All right, yeah, so that's dialing it back. Yeah, Hudspeth said, their legs, and again, we didn't find out about it, and he didn't admit it until it was the next year, but he's like, I'm doing it differently this coming season because the legs are gone. Plus, like you said, they're starting school, so let's give them a couple of days off, get acclimated to what's going on, especially the young kids. Having said that, let's take a time out. When we come back, Will Hall will tell you about some of the younger players that have turned heads in camp. He also goes over what he thinks his strengths are with the team and where they may need a little bit of time to get things going once the season rolls on. Let me tell you a little bit about eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions apply. All right, Dave Schultz back on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's get back to it with the head coach of Will Hall. Tells about some players that are turning heads, some younger players that may be figuring it out, and talks about what may be the strengths of the team and what may need a little bit more work in 2023. We're talking with Will Hall, Locked On Sunbelt, the head coach of Southern Miss. Who are some of the younger guys that have showed up in camp?
Yeah, one other thing I'll say right quick, Dave. When I was a young coach, we had practice on the first day of school. I don't do that anymore. First day of school, we're not practicing. It's a disaster and a waste of time, and I hate wasting time. Right. So we never practice on the first day of school. That's my advice to any young up-and-coming coach.
That's really good advice, actually.
Yeah, you can't serve two masters, and on that day, there's too much going on in their lives. You're going to get nothing out of them. Just let them have it off. But anyway, yeah, young guys, man. We signed a great group of young kids. Kenyon Clay's a redshirt freshman running back that really has come on. He played in 5 games last year and got his redshirt 4 plus the bowl game. He's showing some signs of being a really, really good football player. Gabe Cavazos is a redshirt freshman tackle that's doing some great things. Chris Hayes at offensive line. We've got a young kicker, Connor Gibbs, out of Metairie Park Country Day, that is showing signs of being just a really talented young kicker. And there's more than that, but those are some. J.J. Butler at receiver has shown us that he's going to be a good player. So we've got some good young ones in Centario Willis at corner. Some of those young guys have shown they're going to be really good players in this league. How much they play early, I don't know yet. They got to continue to grow and learn. We got a lot of returners back. We're an older team. Thank you, Jesus. But, but Luke Rogers is another one, a young O-lineman at center that's going to be a really good. J.Q. Gray at running back. All those young kids, man. Tremont Henry at outside backer. They've got a chance.
So let's talk about some of the older guys. Mike Desimo here for the Raging Cajuns has been saying, everybody's on their own developmental pace, right? You think they're coming in and they got all this athletic talent, but for whatever reason, it doesn't click. He's got somebody in his 3rd year as a wide receiver. He's like the switch flipped. Is there anybody like that is, has been has been playing for the Fighting Will Halls that is like, wow, he's got it. We knew he had the athletic ability, but, he's not thinking anymore. He's reacting to what he's supposed to be doing.
I think Brendan Tolles has made strides at corner. He's a young man that didn't get to redshirt when he came in. He played his first 2 years. He's taken another step. Jay Jones at safety in the star nickel position is another kid that didn't get to redshirt. So they're both going into their 3rd year. You can see a change in them and how much more confidence they've got. Avery White is a young man at tight end, also is that way. The switch has kind of turned for him where he's kind of starting to get it. And you can see that he's got a chance to be a really good player. So those are 3, off the top of my head right there.
How proud is that when you see these young guys like you're even admitting these guys were kind of thrown into the fire, right? They were playing when they probably should not have been playing. And, their head is spinning, probably trying to figure out, all right, who am I supposed to be covering? What's the route? Whatever the position that they're playing. And all of a sudden, most of the players would say, this little bit of a cliche, the game has slowed down for them.
Yeah, no doubt. It does make you proud anytime they develop. And, one thing I say all the time, there's no way to know how to do something if you don't even know what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
You have to learn what to do before you can even dive into the how and the why. And a lot of times, man, the transition from high school to college is so drastic. It's probably considerably bigger now than college to pro, because you think about a high school offensive lineman, they may have 2 or 3 run schemes and maybe 1 pass protection. And all of a sudden you jump into college and you're going to have 6 to 8 run schemes and 6 to 8 protections versus, you might see 1 or 2 blitzes in a high school game. You may see 9 different blitz patterns in a college game. So it's just a totally different deal to wrap your head around.
Yeah, and then the mismatches, right? I mean, if you're a 310-pound tackle in high school and you're going up against a 220-pound end, that's not going to be the same case when you get to college.
And not at all. Not at all.
We're talking to Will Hall, head coach of the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. All right, what do you think the strengths are of your team heading into it? And without giving too much away, what do you think you need to work on as you're, wrapping up fall camp?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at our team on paper, obviously we return all of our defensive linemen of a really good defensive line unit. Every one of them's back. We actually lost one to injury during fall camp, Armandus Cooley, but all the rest of them are back. And then we added 3 recruits to it. So we're more experienced and deeper at that group. At safety, you bring Jay Stanley back, who's obviously a preseason All-American candidate, and you add Dylan Lawrence to that as a transfer from Mississippi State, who's going to be a dynamic player, and you feel great right there. Offensively, everybody's back. The receivers are back, the tight end's back, all our O-linemen are back, so we just feel like we're going to be much better over there. On paper, when you look at us, the glaring things are quarterback. We brought in some transfers. We feel really good about how they're competing. We've already talked about that. We lost our kicker and lost our punter, and they were both really, really good players. We've recruited well at those positions, and they're doing good in fall camp. But until they play in the game, that's a bit of an unknown. And the same at cornerback. At corner, we lost 2 players to the NFL. One was drafted, and the other one's still hanging in there right now in a camp. Eric Scott and Natron Brooks. We've got talent at corner. They've played. We just talked about Brendan Tolles a while ago, but they got to get out there and do it now. It's their show. So, on paper, those would be some of the strengths and weaknesses, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, we don't really notice those kickers until they mess up or make a game-winning kick. And a lot of times, right, the punter, right, kind of goes unnoticed, except when they flip the field, right? Like it's a field goal game, and all of a sudden, you don't get the first down, you're punting from the 29-yard line, and all of a sudden, he gets a big bounce or the wind or whatever, and all of a sudden the opposition's inside the 20, and although the defense comes up with a stop, the punter is the one who set things up.
No question. You notice them in big games that are evenly matched up. The kickers and punters usually make a huge difference, and we've been really good there over the last 2 years, and hopefully we're going to be again, but it will be new faces.
All right, let's take a time out. We'll wrap things up with the head coach, Will Hall, when we come back. He'll talk about Averie Habas and his situation and then his expectations for 2023. Have to give my thanks. We are over 500 subscriptions. We're even 506. Basically, in 3 weeks, we've gone from 308 to 506, almost 200, if I could do math, almost 200 subscriptions in just over 3 weeks. In fact, it was 506 on Thursday. So it was 3 weeks ago, right after the Sun Belt Media Days, that we were at 308, and we got to 506 on Thursday night. So unbelievable. Thank you so much. Keep it going. The Phil Steele episode was fantastic. Pass the word around. We'll be doing this each and every day during the season, and looking forward to it. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Anyway, maybe we get a bonus episode when necessary on a weekday game, especially if there is an upset in the making. So please, when you see it on YouTube, please subscribe. Please share it. You're certainly welcome to do that. Don't forget about the audio portion of the show. You can find Locked On Sunbelt wherever you get your podcasts, your audio podcasts. Most of you get it on Apple. Some of you get it on Spotify. Those are the 2 main apps that people use to listen to Locked On Sunbelt. Just search Locked On Sunbelt and you'll find it. So we do appreciate your patronage very much. Okay, let's wrap things up with the head coach of Southern Miss, Will Hall. Talks about Averie Habas, what could have been a tragic situation turns into something that is a blessing, perhaps. And he talks about what his expectations are as he's heading into year 3 as the head coach of the Golden Eagles. He's Will Hall. He's the head coach of the Southern Miss Golden Eagles on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. A couple of more minutes with him. All right, well, let's talk. You got some good news, not great news for the team, but, a lot of times this news turns into tragedy. Linebacker Averie Habas is out for the season. Why don't you tell us why? But again, usually this is not great news, but in this case, he's hopefully just going to miss the season.
Yeah, Averie has been a really good player for us. Young man from Wisconsin that went to junior college and made himself a player and then came here. He was here when we got here, and he turned himself from an average player into a great player. We've been knowing for some time that he had a medical condition and that the chances of him playing this year were going to be the percentages were low, if you will. So we had time to plan for this as a program. So we've known a lot longer than the announcement was made yesterday when it became official with the medical team, because we wanted to exhaust every avenue to give him a chance to play this year, because that's what he wanted. So he's going to transition over into coaching. He's thought a lot about being a strength coach, so we're going to put him in there with Ancor and see if that's what God's got in store for him. And along the way, the medical people are going to still keep trying to figure this out, what's going on with him. And if they can get a handle on it, we feel like he'll get a medical red shirt and can play his senior year next year. And if not, Averie's a young man. He's already married. He's got deep faith. He's just a tremendous – if my two boys grow up to be like him, I'll have been a success. And so he's going to do great things with his life, regardless if he ever plays football again or not.
Well, he posted it on social media, so it was an issue with his heart. And a lot of times, unfortunately, we see it, whether it's a 17-year-old. I mean, LeBron, Bronny had an issue with his heart. So often this is tragic news, right? Unfortunately, a young athlete in really good shape doesn't make it. But good job by him not to, push through it too much. He realized he had an issue, and a great job by the Southern Miss trainers to say, we got an issue here, and then the doctors and the surgery. He's already had the surgery. So, hopefully he makes a full comeback. And if he doesn't play football again, still leads a productive life.
Oh, there's no question. It was great by him and then our whole medical staff and the way we run our program. We never put a kid in jeopardy. And as soon as it happened, we pulled him out of workouts. They put heart monitors on him and started monitoring him. It continued to happen. And from that point, they advanced on through through all the procedures that's gone on since then. So we're just hoping and praying that they can find out exactly what's going on so we can get a handle on it for him. And he can chase his hopes and dreams in whichever avenue the Lord leads him.
Yeah, I'm always hashtag always a bright side kind of guy, and that's exactly what this is. Big time hashtag always a bright side. All right, you said everyone's back. There's one guy who's not back, and I don't know if we've seen him on Hard Knocks yet, but he is doing well in Jets camp. Have you had any reports? Have you been in contact with Jason Brownlee, the wide receiver?
Yeah, we've texted back and forth a little bit, and and Coach Lindsey, our receivers coach, and him have had some conversations. We knew he would have a chance. Their scouts are really close to, Phil Savage is there, and also Dom Green, who was a longtime junior college coach in Mississippi. So I go way back with Phil and Dom, so I knew how bad they wanted him. The moment the draft ended, he became one of the hottest commodities. It's actually better for him that he didn't get drafted.
Right.
Financials, because then you get recruited, and you get to choose where you want to go. I have a lot of faith in Dom and Phil and believe that they were telling me the truth. And so, we helped advise him to go to the Jets. That was ultimately his decision. But he goes to the Jets, and, he's in a situation with one of the all-time great quarterbacks, and they run a system from a terminology and all standpoint, and the way they structure it with the West Coast, similar to how we do it. And, man, he is an intense competitor. He grew up in West Point, Mississippi, Dave, which is one of the top programs in the whole United States. They're old school there. I mean, they grow up, man. You have to compete in everything you do there, and that's just the way he is. And so he's working, and we certainly are hoping that he can pull through and make a team.
All right, one more question as we wrap things up with Will Hall, the head coach of the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. So I've been doing these expectations versus reality deal, all right? And so you have, expectations year 3, right? You went from 3 wins to 7 wins, so we're looking for more than that. You have a tough schedule. That is not an easy schedule. Tulane is coming in. You beat Tulane last year. There's Florida State on the schedule. Mississippi State's on the schedule. Road games in the Sun Belt, it is not easy. And so expectations are one thing, reality is another, and you're breaking in a QB, although hopefully for Will Hall and Southern Miss, you'll have the same QB for a couple of years. What are your expectations as you're ramping up in the end of camp, knowing that, hey, they can change. Life is all about making the adjustments.
Yeah, Dave, for me, when we got here, that's what we said. We said we wanted to build this place back to being the premier Group of 5 program in America. We went from 3 to 7. We got back to where last year, if you look at us, we were in every game in the fourth quarter except for one. With 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, it was a 1-score game in all of our games except for one. So we got to where we were in the arena, even with the good teams. Now we would like to take another step. We want to grow again. because we've got to get back to where we're in the mix to win the Sun Belt. I hope that happens this year. I'd like to be going down the stretch in the mix to win the West and be in that conversation. But we just don't want to take a step back. We want to continue to push this program forward and continue growing it back to that ultimate goal, which is what I've told you. That's been our vision, is to be that best Group of 5 program.
He's Will Hall. He's the head coach of the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Thanks for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt, and we'll see you when you head over to Lafayette to take on the Cajuns. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks so much, Dave. I always appreciate what you do for us, man.